Good evening again. Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle here with you. It's about 11:35. We do a little short weather update for the tornado warning that has been issued across far southeastern Oklahoma. So we're going to cover that for you, and we'll track that storm as it heads into far southwestern Arkansas. So thanks for being with me. If you have any friends or family that do live out into LaFleur County in Oklahoma, tell them about this broadcast and tell them we're tracking it for them as it heads into Polk, Sebastian, and also Scott County in Arkansas. All right, so this is a look at the radar view. This is the red polygon here is the tornado warning. This is just east of Tullahina, just east of Whitesboro, east of Honobia, west of Octavia. So this little S shape here is kind of where the center of the circulation is. The algorithms had a probability of producing a tornado around 45%, which is one of the higher values that we've seen. And we do look at the velocity data. It's not overly impressive, but there's a little bit of a couplet here in this little area where the red and green kind of comes together, and it's still a little broad, but it's in this vicinity here. All right, so that's going to put it southwest of Highway 63, which is west of 259 and 1 by a few miles. The closest road that I've got here for you, if I can even find a county road that'll show up out here. Some of these are just little creeks and tributaries, so I don't have any road networks over here. As a matter of fact, if I take off the radar data to show you what's underneath it, you see what this is? A lot of trees. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes when these guys develop, they're over open land and not near any populated area. So that's good news for right now. It's in a vicinity where there isn't any populated regions. So that's where I like to see it. So we'll see what happens with that. But watch this here for a few minutes as this particular storm works its way toward the Arkansas border. So here's the latest from the National Weather Service on the warning criteria for this. Tornado warning in effect for southeastern LaFleur County into southeastern Oklahoma until 12:15 in the morning. A severe storm capable of producing a tornado is located 7 miles south of Whitesboro, moving northeast at 50 miles an hour. Tornado and quarter-size hail possible. Locations in the path include Big Cedar and Muse. And I'm going to flip back and forth to another radar view here. We'll see if that shows me anything else I wanted to look at. No. So that's the good news as far as any major populated region. It's not going to happen right now. So we like to see that. Just looking at some of the different radar products here that I'm going to check out just to see if anything's changed since I first looked at it. So what we do, we just kind of look at different radar products for a system, and then we detect what's in it. If it's got hail, if it's got damaging winds, or if it's got tornadoes, that kind of deal. So I just flip through back and forth to different things. Let's see. So that was the latest there. Oh, I will have the speed. We can pop up here. Northeast at 48 miles per hour, so rather quick mover. Radar indicated tornado, hail size about 1 inch. And there's your locations, Muse and Big Cedar. Okay, so what do you do on a tornado? Well, at the bottom of my screen here, I constantly have this going 24/7, 365. So if you're ever curious about what to do when you have a tornado, I reinforce it over and over and over on this bottom ticker so that you will always know what to do. And it's very simple. It's basically get to the middle part of your home, you get the lowest floor, and you get away from all walls and windows. And that's it. And you ride it out until it's over. Now, I know in some of these areas of the state, you end up with like a mobile home situation. Those are never good places to seek shelter from a tornado. So honestly, in those particular cases, it's better to just leave and go somewhere safe. So a neighbor, place of refuge you would normally go. And in this particular case, you can use my free weather app, AT's Weather to Go, and it would give you an extra 15 minutes notification the storm is coming your way and was rotating enough to produce a tornado. So in that case, it gives you more time to make your plans. So make sure you utilize that feature. Also have a NOAA weather radio. The sirens will sound typically if you've got them in your region. But anyway, so that's what's happening out here across far southeastern Oklahoma. So if you're wondering what about the rest of the state, the rest of the state's fine. We got some good rain out here in northeast Oklahoma from Tulsa, stretching down toward Okmulgee and Holdenville and Ada and Atoka. So nothing severe, not even really hardly any lightning. There's a little bit of lightning back here around Sulphur. But otherwise, the only severe weather right now in the state is the storm that's pushing through LaFleur County, coming up on, we would say, Highway 59 and 259. So it'll be crossing over that highway boundary here and give it about another 5 minutes, and it should be pretty close to that boundary. So if you live along that highway just west of it, you know you're in the path of this particular thunderstorm, with the stronger aspects of it right along Highway 63. So that seems to be where the circulation center resides. Let me see if anything's changed on the strength. Let's see, let's go back a couple scans. At one point, it had a pretty good rotation scan, right about there. That was probably at its peak as far as the strength of the rotation, which again was over some open farmland. Say it farmland. It's not really farmland in southeast Oklahoma. It's trees. So, in tree land, I want you to call it. But regardless, that's where that circulation center was at its strongest, and it has not been that strong since. That's some good news. But that is why the tornado warning was issued, because at that one point in time, it looked like it could produce a tornado. Let's see here. Looking at the rest of the data I have here, it doesn't look all that great to me as far as producing a tornado. The data is pretty elongated. It's broad, so no doubt there's probably a wall cloud structure. Looks like probably things are probably spinning. No doubt that's for sure. The probability of a tornado, though, for this particular case, doesn't appear to be all that great, which is good. Matter of fact, the algorithms that predict whether or not a tornado would occur is down to 37%, which is down from what it was a little earlier when we looked at this. So I really don't have the inclination that it's is currently producing one. If it was, it'd be very, very weak. And the location, again, would be right over Highway 63. About about 5 miles west of 59. So that'd be east of Whitesboro. So that's what I have here for you, but never disregard a tornado warning. Always be in your shelters, just in case, until it moves past you. So since it's moving pretty good speed, it will be out of this red polygon box here in about 35 minutes and moving into western Arkansas by that point in time. Alright, so for you guys in Arkansas, what you would do is you'd watch for the storm to hold together and to basically kind of reorganize a little bit to where that little couplet would tighten up and potentially produce a tornado. So that's what you would be on guard for at this point in time. Let's see here. Yeah, there's no indications right now, which is good as far as radar is concerned. And we're looking at about, where are we at? 3,000 feet elevation, which is low enough in the atmosphere for a good low-level scan. If it were producing a tornado, we would have a pretty good look at the column above it. And it's just not showing up. So in those particular cases, odds are a lot lower that's producing a tornado. And if it was, it would be weak and small. So all of that's good news. But like I said, you never disregard the tornado warning. Just pretend it's going to have one while it's under that particular warning, and that way you're covered. And especially being at night, it would always be hard to see anyway. But Paige, again, is in the path of this particular storm. So is Black Fork here eventually. But you still got plenty of time to be in your shelters for that. So if you are progressive in that state, you can go ahead and start getting ready and getting things organized as the storm approaches. And by the time it gets to you, it may not even be producing a tornado or even be as strong as it is currently. So that's a positive. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, the trend looks like it to weaken a little bit. I'm going to go back a few frames. Yeah, that little S-band structure it had to it collapsed. Actually, cell split, went north. So it's really disorganized. It was just a very short period where it briefly tried to do something, and since then it's nothing even remotely the same structure. So that's good. So it's much weaker is what that means, and the ability to produce a tornado is a lot less. Probability continues to come down. We're now at 32%, so that's good. And I have seen these probabilities vary, and the take home I usually look at it on these rather than the exact number is the trend. Is the trend coming down or is the trend going up? And if the trend is going down, it's usually because there is no tornado and this thing's disorganized. If the trend goes up, it's obviously the opposite direction, where a storm is getting better organized and its likelihood of producing a tornado goes up. So that's the best way I've noticed to use these. These are experimental algorithms. So for an automated, almost kind of an AI type system, but it's basically a basket of indices and things the radar will see, and then it tries to correlate those with a lot of things that we know, and then it tries to predict the outcome as to whether or not a tornado is there or not. So they're helpful. This is guidance, but it's part of the future of trying to do automated tornado warnings. So it's kind of the early stages of that development. All right, let's see here. Let me go down into the Texas area. I know there's been some big thunderstorms down there. We'll take a look, see if anything's still going strong. By the way, there is what they call just a weather, kind of like in a weather advisory. It's a special weather statement for these storms down here, where you can have wind gusts up to around 55 miles per hour. This is east of Ardmore. Technically, a severe thunderstorm doesn't start until you get at least 58 or 1-inch size hail. So these are just under severe weather limits. So that's why they don't have a severe thunderstorm warning with them. But they do have I guess you could call it a strong storm, or something significant. And there's the path of your communities there on the screen. So quite a few of them down here. Just get this heavy rain, occasional lightning, and a little gusty wind. All right, let me switch down here to Fort Worth. And earlier there were some pretty good thunderstorms. There was even at one point, I believe, on the north side of Tarrant County, a funnel, I think at one point was reported earlier on in the evening. So now that we've switched over radar views down here in North Texas, you can see these storms a little bit better. So this is around Sanger, just east of there, east of Gainesville, it's that particular storm. And that stretches on up into southern Oklahoma, right across the border, and that's where we talked about those other couple storms that were pretty decent, but not severe. So this one here, let's just take a quick look, see if there's anything velocity data-wise. So, no. With the wind, though, or with any of these storms, they're going to have potential for about 60-mile-per-hour winds. So this one's no different. Seeing a lot of 60s for the downdraft potential. Let's see here. What about hail? Bill looks a little low. Let's see what that turns into. Estimated hail size. Teeny tiny little spot, about 1 inch in diameter, right around here in Collinsville. So that's about it. So this is a storm that's kind of working its way out of the older severe weather warning box and is weakening, looks like, a little bit. Alright, it also has, let's see, its probability of hail, 9%, and I need to switch the layers. I need to do something a little later. Let's see what I gotta do. I'm always gotta tweak or tinker with something. Okay, so that's down here in North Texas. Not a big deal down there right now. That's the strongest storm. There's some others out here west down toward Abilene, but again, they're not a big deal either. So that's good for you guys down in Dallas-Fort Worth. There have only been, I think, as far as I know, only 2 tornado warnings. Neither one of those has verified in the production of a tornado, which is good. Okay, so here in Arkansas, we're going to take a look out here east of Fort Smith. Keep an eye on this one as well. One more look before I go to Arkansas, because there is a tornado warning that was issued, looks like, up here moments ago. This is around Ozark in Franklin County. This is east of Fort Smith. Let's see what the velocity data looks like on this one. Alright, so it's mainly an RFD type deal. Alright, so let's see here. They're really hurting for road networks in this little region, and my guess is because it's probably over, you guessed it, a lot of open land. So it looks like there is a lot of trees in the path. Looks like one little maybe farmhouse here. Looks like storage facilities either for chickens or who knows. I don't know what's in those little long based structures that's housed, but I'm sure it's something related to farming at some level. All right, let's take a look back at the velocity data. So what we have here is this little region here where you have the red color indicating winds going away from the radar, and blue indicating winds coming towards. That's your overall generic area of spin in the atmosphere. Now what's different here is that it's pretty broad over, it looks like a 3-mile swath. For a good tornado signature, you want it to be over about a 1-mile swath, so we don't have that. So typically in this case, I would have called for it to be a wall cloud. Then I would call for, you probably occasionally could see a little baby funnel dipping down. That's what I would normally interpret the radar data for in this area with about 2,000 feet elevation height, so pretty good distance for the radar to capture something. So that's pretty much the state of this one, but like I mentioned before, just because I'm calling it as we see it at the very second doesn't mean it couldn't do one, a minute or 2 minutes from now. We'd have to sit there and watch it. So that's why you always want to stay in your shelters and just seek shelter from a tornado in the warning box, in this warning criteria. So if anybody lives between Ozark and Cass and just west of Yale, you'll be within this warning box, which means sirens locally would be going off if you have them in your area, and your NOAA weather radio will be going off. And if you have my weather app, AT's Weather to Go, it would be going off. So right now, this is where that would go. And the reflectivity structure, this little notch right here is where I see the best probability of maybe a tornado trying to develop. That would be the best place that I would look. It's on the edge of the RFD push, so your most favored region would be this curly Q point right about here to try to see either a funnel or something try to happen. So that's just on this edge of this track here. So let's see where we got here. I'm trying to find these little rows. That's Green Place is what that is. Let me get that popping up on the screen. Hold on just a second. Alright, so that's Forest Trail in Green Place. And just got a new radar update from there. So that's now moved over from that intersection to now it's just coming up on Highway 23. And let's see, that's Lower Jefferson, what was that? Oh, Lower Jethro Road. So that's the intersection of where, wall cloud is probably there. And maybe at one point you probably could have seen maybe a brief funnel. But that's the concerned area for the storm. But other than that, I just don't see it doing anything right now to indicate imminent tornado at this point in time and in the data. But seek shelter, because that would be the location where that would occur or could occur. And this again is in western Arkansas, so this is not in Oklahoma, it's just east of Fort Smith. This was a warning that came up while we were discussing the one in Oklahoma. So we went ahead and decided to take a quick look at that. Flash flood looks like a warning here for this heavy rainfall in this area. We mentioned that in the forecast earlier this evening as far as any flash flooding is concerning, how you could have 2 or maybe even 3 inches of rain with these areas kind of getting hit over and over. All right, so down back south we go into LaFleur County in far southeast Oklahoma. This is the tornado warning left over for that. It has not, to my knowledge, been canceled yet. Oh, it just did. So there you go, it's been dropped. All right, so the tornado warning for southeast LaFleur County is canceled. The threat has diminished and the tornado warning has been canceled. However, small hail and winds, damaging winds may still be likely with the storm in this area. All right, so that's kind of, it gives you an example, if you watch me from the start to finish here, how I talk you through, if you're new to what I do, how I talk you through it, and I'll tell you whether there's an immediate threat, and I'll tell you what the storm's doing or not doing, and we act accordingly. But remember, always err on the side of caution. But it gives you a ability to breathe, right? And you know all the data there is to know about this particular deal. So you don't have to wonder, you know exactly what status is it in, for example. And then if I talk in and tell you how it's just, Doesn't look that great. It's weakening. The trend's going down. And then you'll see at some point then the Weather Service will either cancel the warning or allow it to expire. And then if it ramps up again, well, obviously we would catch that, or they issue another warning, and we go from there. But so that's kind of how that's done in real time when you're tracking these things. All right, so back here, since the only warning on the map, we'll go back out here to this one in western Arkansas and see if it looks any different, if it's gotten any better or worse in the structure. And not really. It's probably just a little worse each run. So, like I said, I still think you'll probably see a little wall cloud out of it. And a wall cloud is where you would get the tornado to form. Now, at nighttime, it'd be very hard to see. Everything looks like a wall cloud. So, everything looks like it's spinning or moving. So, at nighttime spotting, storm spotting or storm chasing is very difficult just because you just really can't see much detail. You're looking for, power flashes or lightning strikes to be able to see something in the distance. I want to look at the dual pole products to see. There's nothing indicates there's been any type of debris or anything like that. So that's kind of what it is. It's a tornado warning, which is likely has not produced a tornado, and right now it does not look like it will. That's the way it looks in the radar data. But because this is the area that has had rotation, that is why the warning is out, and that's why you should pay attention and you should be in your shelters. If we look back underneath, again, we're over a lot of tree land. So very few people in the path of this, very few farmhouses, no major metropolitan areas or cities, so that's good. All right, so it has a very low impact probability of destruction, when it comes to life and property. So we always try to take into account that kind of information in these setups. I don't know, there's just something different about if you have a tornado in the state and it's going through some open land and it's not hitting anything, it's like, okay, well, it's a tornado, right? But it's not hurting anybody, so who cares, right? It's not a big deal. So your anxiety level drops way down. And then whenever we do have a situation where one is about to come into a populated area or is overpopulated area, then you're like, okay, this is a serious deal, so let's make sure we're in our shelters. So there's a couple ways you can look at it or approach it. All right, so this one I've got nothing left in the velocity data, so this thing's toast. It's only going to be in the polygon box for another few more minutes, then it'll be moving out of this region. So, you can stay in your shelters here for a little bit longer because it won't last for about another 5 minutes, and it's out of the polygon box, which that means they will allow it to expire and or cancel it. If it does not show any new rotation characteristics, then there's nothing to warn on. So I'm going to go over here real quick and pop this up. See if it's changed. Looks like they shortened the box on this little update here. Yeah, Ozark was the only community they had that was anything significant. What in the world? There we go. Let's see. Technically, it expires at 12:15, moving to the east at 43, winds gusting up to 50, 3/4 inch size hail. There's the locations within the path of this particular thunderstorm, not necessarily where the old rotation center was. Mulberry, Altus, Branch, Denning, Cass, Fern, Jethro, Turner's Bend, Vesta, Cecil, Lone Elm, Eltna, Barnes, Alex Redding, Watalula, and Meg. Sometimes saying these towns on the fly can get you on the pronunciations. So sometimes aren't so bad as they are, like in Oklahoma. Sometimes on the fly, you're like, oh, I hadn't seen that town name in a while. Well, how do you say that one again? But anyway, so these storms down here south, remember the tornado warning long expired, but they issued a severe thunderstorm warning to take its place. And a typical severe thunderstorm warning is wind gusts up to about, technically has to be 58 miles per hour. So the wording, they'll put 60. Hail size usually is 1 inch. They have it smaller than that. It's not a big hail maker. So it's just a borderline severe thunderstorm is basically what that means. All right, and I've got to change something that I got to go back and do. Let's see. So this was updated 1 minute ago. Tornado warning remains in effect. Storm capable of producing a tornado located 6 miles south of Cass, moving east at 35. And we gave you all the towns a minute ago. It's running just, the circulation center is well north of I-40, but it's between mile marker 34 and 42 as far as the storm itself, the southern end of it down here near Ozark. But the place where you'd have a potential developing tornado is right here in this little spot here. So that's where we would look for that. It's very, very weak. And that is over Carter Mountain Road and Pink Twist Road. That would be the intersection of where this is a little weak circulation feature would be going. So we're going to hang with this just for another second or so. And then we'll let it go. And what I'll do is I'll sign off again. And I don't expect this type of trend to continue here in Oklahoma. I think things are winding down. Our best shear and instability was through about 1 o'clock in the morning down here in southeast Oklahoma. So you can still kind of have a freak thing maybe way down here southeast for some of these storms that are coming out of Texas and traveling through Durant, Hugo, and Antlers. It's kind of a region. But you're running out of the best shear in that environment. You have another about an hour, maybe two most. And the odds of producing a tornado drop lower. So they're running out of time to be able to do that. But you guys in Arkansas and southern Missouri, you're still in that little bit of that window for a little while longer as well. Let's see, like I said, as far as I know, none of these have panned out as far as being officially reported. They're just radar indicated circulation, which could indicate a tornado developing, so those warnings are put out. And at nighttime, it's always going to be on the siding on the air of caution, err on the side of caution. There you go, because at nighttime you don't want something like that to happen, and you don't want to really argue too much about semantics. Just put the warning out. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So that's kind of how that works. Let's see. We're looking at probability of a tornado is only 15%. So this is much lower. And it's still nothing. There's this little teeny tiny little spot here that has some semblance of any type of convergence. And that's very weak and nothing to write home about, which is good. Not complaining. It's good to see. But it's almost out of this tornado warning polygon. It only has about, a mile left to go. So what that means is if they don't, and it looks like they're not going to continue the tornado warning unless this little couplet here increases. This little tiny little spot we're looking at. If the next scan or two increases, this orange polygon that they have out right now here, out ahead of it, is for a severe thunderstorm warning. So they will have to redraw a new tornado warning within this severe thunderstorm warning. But for now, with the trend that's been going, they were going to allow it to transfer over to a severe and let the tornado expire or just cancel because it's going to move out of that spot. So we'll watch here another second or two and see if this little area here of convergent wind decides to get a little stronger, a little tighter, and if it does, they may extend the warning, or they may sit there and watch it for another couple more scans. And each Weather Service office is different as to how aggressive they are. So Some would just let this go. Others may just keep it going, you know, until any and all semblance of any type of couplet is completely gone, or convergence, or any deviation in the wind speed over a direction over a certain area of interest. So we're going to hang just a couple more minutes. So it's officially crossed out of the polygon for the tornado warning. It is now, let's see where we at here. This is Forest Service Road 1400. I need a crossroad here. County Road 4011. So 4011 and Forest Service Roads. That's where this leftover residual, probably a little bit of a weak wall cloud, resides. And we're up at about 2,700 feet. So we're at a good height if there were a tornado to talk about. And so we don't have that right now. All right, so looks like they're not issuing a new one. So, which means they're probably going to let that go and they're just going to watch it. And if that little circulation center gets a little bit better, organized or stronger or anything, they'll probably reissue another warning, but for now it's not doing anything. So I think they're just going to kind of sit here and wait and watch. So in this particular case, I don't see anything that's going to tell me it's going to get any stronger. Matter of fact, I see more disorganization within the structure itself of the storm. So my guess is they're not going to reissue, and it's just going to continue to kind of slowly die out a little bit with whatever leftover wind speeds there were and directional wind that there was. All right, with that said, the rest of Oklahoma looks good. The only area I see for still some potential trouble is down along the Red River, kind of in this little corridor right here for the next couple of hours. And after that, wind shear is not as conducive, so things ought to change and be less conducive for any type of tornadic activity. All right, well that is it for me for right now. So thanks you guys for a few of you that joined in just to kind of check out the weather in far southeast Oklahoma and western Arkansas. Try to cover the whole state if I can when it comes to tornado warnings. So when I do go live, that's pretty much the purpose, unless I'm doing the forecast. When it comes to severe weather, just kind of cover tornadoes, and because obviously that's the most impactful. And so try to do that as best I can. All right, listen, you guys have been great. Appreciate your support, and I'll kind of watch things a little bit longer, and then I'm probably off to bed because it looks like things are quieting down. Use my weather app at night, always. AT's Weather to Go. It'll warn you, and make sure you have a no weather radio, and of course pay attention to the sirens if they do go off as well. You got multiple ways to get notified when you're asleep at night, for sure. All right, you guys be good. Be safe. Take care.